The laughter started quietly, the kind meant to stay between a few people. Then it grew. It followed her across the base courtyard as she walked past rows of soldiers who didn't bother to lower their voices. Someone called her the new girl. Someone else scoffed at how young she looked. She kept walking, face calm, hands steady, while the weight of every mocking word pressed against her back. None of them knew they were laughing at the newly appointed base general. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're rewatching from. I love knowing who's listening. Her name was General Rachel Monroe, though very few on the base had heard it spoken aloud yet. Her appointment had been confirmed quietly, the way the most important decisions often were. She had arrived without ceremony, without an entourage, wearing a simple uniform and carrying her own bag. Rachel preferred it that way. It let her see people as they truly were, before respect was forced by rank. As she crossed the courtyard, the morning air was sharp with cold and dust. Flags snapped overhead in a restless wind. Boots scuffed concrete. Somewhere nearby, metal clanged against metal as a maintenance crew worked on a vehicle. The base was waking up, alive with routine. And threaded through that routine was something else: carelessness, assumptions, the dangerous comfort of hierarchy unchallenged. Rachel felt the old familiar tension in her chest. Not anger, not fear. Something quieter, disappointment. She had spent her entire career navigating rooms where she didn't. T looked like what people expected power to look like. Younger, smaller, female. She had learned early that every glance carried a question, and every silence carried judgment. She paused near a group of officers pretending to study a posted schedule. Their voices drifted to her easily. "Must be lost," one said. "Probably admin," another replied, amused. "Hope she doesn't cry when training starts." Rachel's fingers tightened slightly around the strap of her bag. For a moment she considered correcting them, ending it quickly, but she stopped herself. Leadership wasn't just about authority. It was about understanding the culture you were inheriting. Right now, this culture was telling her everything she needed to know. She moved on toward the briefing hall, where the base leadership was scheduled to gather. Inside, the air was warmer, heavy with the smell of coffee and paper. Conversations overlapped in low, confident tones. When Rachel entered, a few heads turned, then turned away just as quickly. No one greeted her. No one asked her name. She took a seat near the back. As minutes passed, impatience crept in. Someone joked loudly about delays. Another complained about new policies from people who've never been here. Rachel listened, her expression unreadable, her mind working. She thought of the responsibility now resting on her shoulders, the lives, the families, the missions that would depend on her judgment. She thought of the cost of getting this wrong. Then the room shifted. A senior colonel stepped to the front, cleared his throat, and glanced toward the door. "Before we begin," he said, "we're waiting on the base general." A ripple of reactions followed. Chairs scraped, postures straightened, murmurs rose and fell. Someone near the front scoffed softly. "Hope they're better than the last one." Rachel stood. The movement was small, but it drew eyes. Confusion flickered across faces as she walked forward, boots echoing against the floor. Each step felt heavier than the last, not because she doubted herself, but because she knew what was about to break. Illusions always shattered loudly. "I apologize for the delay," she said, her voice calm, clear, steady. "I wanted to observe before introducing myself." The silence that followed was immediate and complete. She stopped at the front of the room and met their gazes one by one. Recognition came slowly, painfully. Color drained from a few faces. Someone swallowed hard. The colonel stiffened, realization settling in like a blow. "I'm General Rachel Monroe," she continued. "As of this morning, I am in command of this base." The room didn't breathe. Rachel felt the weight of it, then not triumph, not satisfaction, but responsibility, crystallizing into something solid and undeniable. She could see regret forming in some eyes, fear in others. A few stared at the floor, replaying their own words in their minds. This was the moment. The one where she could punish, humiliate, make examples, and for a heartbeat, the question hovered. Was justice firm correction or public reckoning? Would mercy undermine authority or strengthen it? Rachel chose carefully. I've heard how some of you speak when you think leadership isn't listening, she said evenly. I've seen how quickly assumptions are made. No one moved. Dust floated in a beam of sunlight cutting through the room, visible only because nothing else dared to stir. But I didn't come here to shame anyone, she went on. I came here to lead. When leadership starts with accountability, mine included. A few heads lifted, surprised. We will hold high standards here, Rachel said. For performance, for conduct. For how we treat each other when rank isn't obvious and power isn't announced. Something shifted then, not relief, respect. The briefing continued, but it was different now. Questions were sharper, listening deeper. When orders were given, they were acknowledged with clarity and purpose. It felt almost like a tide finding its rhythm. Later, back outside, the courtyard was quieter. The same soldiers stood where they had before, but the air had changed. One of them stepped forward hesitantly as Rachel passed. "General," he said, voice low. "I owe you an apology." Rachel stopped, looked at him, saw not arrogance now, but humility. "Learn from it," she replied. As she walked on, the flags overhead snapped again in the wind, just as they had that morning. But the laughter was gone, replaced by something steadier, something earned. Because respect isn't given by title alone, it's built by character. And kindness doesn't vanish, it waits, and it finds its way back. Rachel reached the far end of the courtyard, the same path where the mocking had begun. This time, every step echoed differently. Not because the ground had changed, but because the people standing on it had. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that quiet strength can change an entire room, leave a comment and subscribe to Whispered Words. Stories like this deserve to be shared and remembered.